Hello and welcome to Jigawa in Focus, your source for the latest developments shaping Jigawa State. I am Fatima Ahmed Musa and I'm delighted to be taking you through today's episode, which promises to keep you informed about the development Jigawa State is making under Governor Malam Umar Namadi. Now let's begin. Northern Nigeria stands at the defining crossroads, rich in history, culture, and human potential, yet challenged by gaps in education and human capital development. Across the region, leaders, scholars, and policymakers are rethinking old approaches and calling for a new strategies that places education at the heart of sustainable development. It is against this backdrop that northern stakeholders have once again gathered to renew a collective commitment to learning, leadership, and progress, drawing inspiration from the enduring legacy of one of the region's most revered leaders, Sir Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto. This renewed call took center stage at the 12th annual memorial lecture of the late Sir Ahmadu Bello, held at the banquet hall of Government House in Dutse, Jigawa State. The annual lecture serves not only as a platform for reflection, but as a forum for shaping ideas and policies capable of repositioning northern Nigeria for inclusive growth and long-term development. Delivering the keynote address, former Minister of Education, Professor Rukayat Ahmed Rufai, described education as the backbone of sustainable development. She stressed that without a deliberate and innovative educational strategy, the region's development aspiration will remain unattainable. Raising concern over the persistent rise in the number of out-of-school children in the north, Professor Rufai called for a renewed commitment from governments, communities, and development partners to reverse the trend and invest meaningfully in human capital.
The future stability and progress of northern Nigeria depend fundamentally on education. Next slide. Focus and structure of the presentation. The discussion is organized around three interrelated priorities: improving girls' education, addressing the crisis of out-of-school children, and confronting the quality of learning in our schools. While enrollment figures have improved in some places, the deeper indicators, that is fairness, efficiency, and learning achievement, remain disturbingly weak. So we are talking of girls' education and out-of-school children and quality education, but we are saying that we are still having issues. Next slide is the scale of the crisis. Northern Nigeria today represents the global epicenter of school exclusion. Millions of children remain outside the classroom due to overlapping pressures: economic hardship, insecurity, entrenched social norms, governance weaknesses, and unresolved tensions between religious and formal education traditions. Northern Nigeria hosts the largest population of out-of-school children globally, unfortunately. So it is driven by poverty and insecurity, cultural and gender norms, governance failures, and tensions between Islamic and Western education. The next slide is talking about analytical framework. To understand why progress has been limited, we look beyond surface level symptoms. This analysis examines the philosophical basis of exclusion, the political and economic incentives shaping education governance, the structural disadvantages faced by girls, and the persistent failure to translate schooling into learning. So our framework lives on philosophical roots, political economy, gendered injustice, and girls' education, as well as persistent poor learning outcomes. The next slide is central thesis. The central argument is that northern Nigeria's education challenge is not simply technical. It reflects deeper normal choices, governance failures, and philosophical contradictions. Addressing it requires a renewed social contract, one that is fair to girls, respectful of culture and religion, and backed by genuine political commitment. So the crisis is not only education, it is philosophical, governance-related, and the issue of morality. There is calls for a new educational social contract that will address gender equitable, that will address a culturally and religiously grounded, and that will also be politically committed to sustained reform. The strategic importance of Northern Nigeria is the next slide. Northern Nigeria occupies most of the country's landmass and holds enormous demographic and political weight. Decisions taken here will not only shape the region's future, but will also determine Nigeria's long-term national development and security. The region covers about 70% of Nigeria's landmass. The critical demographic, cultural, economic, and political significance are also very critical to the region.
The call for action resonated across the lecture hall as key northern leaders lent their voices to the conversation. Speaking separately, the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, alongside Chairman of the Northern Governors Forum and Governor of Gombe State, Inuwa Yahaya, Jigawa State Governor Malam Umar Namadi, and the Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Sardauna Memorial Foundation, Dr. Muazu Babangida Aliyu, emphasized the need for collective responsibility in tackling the region's developmental challenges. They urged leaders at all levels to prioritize education, strengthen unity, and embrace the values of service and selflessness exemplified by the late Sardauna of Sokoto.
His Excellency the Vice President extends his warm regards. His Excellency the Vice President congratulates the awardees, and he has asked me, I don't have a written speech unfortunately, but he has asked me to specifically list out the kind of engagements the Office of the Vice President has been having, specifically with the Sardauna Memorial Foundation. They are not new or visitors to the Office of the Vice President. And he has also sent me a list of 4 or 5 issues which he has directed that I make public, one of which is a dedicated summit, I think being organized under the Human Capital Development Program with the Sardauna Memorial Foundation. The Human Capital Development Program is anchored in the Office of the Vice President, and education is one of the 3 focal points of that program. So I'm sure maybe it will be preemptive to announce this, but he has mentioned that this is one of, indeed, several initiatives that the Office of the Vice President is engaged in, along with not only the Sardauna Memorial Foundation, but other like-minded organizations to address the issue of basic education in Nigeria in general, and particularly in the northern part of the country. One of the 4 issues he said I should raise is the issue of teacher quality. And this will look very suspiciously like it was picked out from Professor Lukaya's presentation. I can assure you that it is not. It just anchors the point that most of these issues have been with us for some time, and what is required is the will to address them. In fact, I remember about 10 years ago, we had a JIGAWA educational summit here in Dulce, which was anchored by the legendary Alaja Kiyawa. And in his characteristically blunt manner, a lot of the issues raised by Professor Rukaya were raised by himself at that point in time. So these are not new issues. What is required is the will and the resolve to address them frontally. And at this point, I would like to single out His Excellency, the Governor of Jigawa State, for his commitment to education. Jigawa State is one of only 4 states in Nigeria that have exceeded the recommended 26% budgetary allocation to education. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a step in the right direction, and I hope that the Sardauna Memorial Foundation would arrange some kind of peer review mechanism between the states so that we can encourage other states, especially of northern extraction, to also begin to dedicate substantial amounts to address what, for me, is a very, very serious pointer to what confronts us in the future. Actually, the Vice President has also asked me in his capacity as Chairman of the National Council on Skills to address the issue of focusing on vocational skills. We had a conversation with His Excellency, the Governor, and the agreement generally is that we cannot all pour our resources into formal education at the expense of technical education or skill development. We have gotten to a point globally where some of these skills are now more relevant and more important than formal education. So we absolutely need to focus on that. We need to leverage on technology as a force multiplier to address the very, very serious teacher gap that we have in the moment. Teacher training must be addressed, and Your Excellencies, I'm sure you are aware, quality teachers have now become a commodity for education in Nigeria, and there is simply no way that public schools can be able to compete with private schools in this regard. Finally, His Excellency the Vice President has also asked me to focus on the issue of girls, affirmative girl education, or as he always put it, girls, girls, girls. Once again, to anchor on what Professor Luke has said, the issue of girl education has to be given primary priority in all our educational institutions.
Net attendance of the girl child in primary school in the northeast and the northwest stands at about 47.7% and 47.3% respectively. And nationwide, only 26% of children aged 7 to 13 possess basic literacy and numeracy skills, with the North bearing a greater brunt of this learning deficiency. These figures point a gloomy picture, with millions of our children who are being denied the basic education that is their birthright. As the chairman of the Northern States Governors Forum, I can attest that these issues dominate our discussions at all times. Education is the bedrock of human capital development, and without addressing these barriers, our region's progress will remain stunted. Collectively, the Northern States Governors Forum have taken decisive steps to confront these challenges. We have strengthened collaboration with the Universal Basic Education Commission and development partners, plus donor agencies, in order to expand access, improve infrastructure, and enhance teacher training. These partnerships are critical in mobilizing resources and expertise to tackle out-of-school menace and bridge learning gaps across our states. Recognizing that insecurity remains the greatest threat to education in northern Nigeria, the Forum has established the Northern Nigeria Security Trust Fund. This initiative is designed to provide sustainable financing for coordinated security interventions so as to ensure that schools and learning environments are protected from abductions, insurgency, and other threats. By pooling resources and working closely with relevant security agencies and local communities, we are determined to safeguard the future of our children. In addition, we launch initiatives such as the Nigeria Education Forum 2025 in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Education to explore innovative financing models for education, and state-level workshops on foundational learning have also been rolled out across the region in order to improve early grade literacy and numeracy, with the goal of enrolling millions back to the classrooms. These collective actions reflect our shared resolve, which is to confront insecurity, strengthen educational systems, and ensure that every child in northern Nigeria has equitable access to quality basic education.
Indeed, for the government and people of Jigawa State, it is both an honor and privilege to host this distinguished gathering, a platform dedicated to commemorating the remarkable life, times, exemplary leadership, and the enduring legacies of the late Premier of the defunct Northern Region, Sir Ahmed Bello Sardona of Sokoto. His visionary approach and the transformative statesmanship, characterized by unwavering dedication to unity, progress, and inclusive development, continue to inspire successive generations. Sir Ahmed Bello's legacy, especially his steadfast commitment to education, unity, and development, stand as a guiding light for all of us here. Our renowned Hausa press singers of the past, such as Narambada, Dankwairo, and Jankidi, captured the essence of our sentiment with the saying that, I quote, "Har kasa ta nade ana tinaka," meaning something like, you will continue to be remembered with nostalgia until the end of time. Let me also profoundly commend the Ahmad Bello Memorial Foundation for its steadfast commitment to preserving and promoting the Sardona's legacies. Through its impactful programs, annual lectures, and awards, and the foundation upholds the ideals of unity, educational excellence, and inclusive development, keeping his vision alive for the current and future generations of this region. I recall the Northern Educational Summit convened by the foundation in 2011, which was a pivotal event that united key stakeholders to address educational challenges in the region, leaving a lasting impact. It is not a coincidence that the focus of this year's memorial lecture is on the delivery of equitable access to quality basic education, underscoring the necessity of education as panacea to the most of the region's development challenges. Over the years, Northern Nigeria has confronted a series of profound existential challenges that have persistently threatened socio-economic development, social cohesion, and overall prosperity. Despite enduring both overt and covert provocations and deliberate attempts to sow discourse, the region has managed to preserve, albeit with great difficulty, in the face of adverse human development indicators, widespread insecurity, high level of youth unemployment, and the range of other developmental obstacles. More recently, a concerted campaign of misinformation driven by external interests has sought to distort the narrative surrounding insecurity in the region, further complicating an already complex landscape and adding to the myriad of challenges confronting northern Nigeria. Objective and dissenting mind, both within and outside Nigeria, knows better. Our resilience will preserve. Amidst all these considerable yet surmountable challenges, the unwavering commitment of the regional organization, such as Ahmad Bello Memorial Foundation, deserve ongoing recognition, encouragement, and support. In the same spirit, I wish to commend the Northern Elders Forum for their pivotal role last year in organizing the annual inaugural Northern Nigeria Investment and Industrialization Summit, which has culminated in the creation of Northern Nigeria Economic Development Council. With the endorsement of the Northern State Governors Forum, I believe this council is poised to deliver a comprehensive strategic economic development master plan for the region.
Education, as we know, and particularly the girl child education, our speaker today represents the girl child education. I have said always that the girl child is the best insurance All those who are looking for pension and the pension is too small, when you educate the girl child, you really have a pension. Because it is only the girl child that, even if it means stealing from the kitchen of her husband to ensure that her parents are fed, she will do that. But many of us, the men, you graduate, you marry, you start having family, in ba ka koshi sosai ba, da wuya iyaye ke ganin ka sosai. So please, we must pay attention. The time has passed of those who are looking at the girl child education or having a girl child as a burden. No, she is an asset, and we must continue to train them properly. We are truly touched by the concern and indeed the welfare and security of your people. Malam Umaru Namadi. We have gone around the town, we have noticed, we have been told that people are very happy with your leadership, and we're very happy too. So we thank you for what you have been doing, not only for Jigawa, because if every state will emulate and copy what you're doing, then we will have a united northern state, which is a subset of Nigeria and will help the development of Nigeria. We also, the new world, and that is why we picked this lady to speak to us today. Jigawa, you have done beautifully well. You have produced 2 female ministers of education, and Professor Rukaya is probably the best of the ministers of education that we have had.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Northern Nigeria, we are in trouble, and we have to say and accept that we are in trouble. We have a common enemy, which is insecurity. And if we don't tackle insecurity in Northern Nigeria, all the efforts done by the government will go in vain. So we have to accept and sit down, discuss how we can tackle insecurity in Nigeria, which is really dividing us. And without unity in Northern Nigeria, we cannot achieve anything. So we have to sit down and see how we can tackle insecurity seriously. It has brought mistrust between us, which is affecting our economy in Northern Nigeria, which the disparity is clearly seen. So, ladies and gentlemen, we should not just sit down and say, let's allow our political leaders to handle it. They are also human beings. They did our assistance, they did our advice. So I think we have to sit down and talk about it. We're talking about investment in Northern Nigeria. No serious investor will come to Northern Nigeria. No serious investor will come to Northern Nigeria with all this insecurity. At the end, we will start complaining that we're being marginalized, nothing is happening in this part of the country. But insecurity is the culprit. I would like to thank Professor Rukaya for a remarkable presentation. But, like she said, government has been funding, but the outcome keeps going down. The outcome is poor. And we are the problem. Government has done its own. It has pumped funding into education. But we, as individuals, whenever whenever the reason why we are having a downward arrow on our education system is because, first of all, we have to look at it from inception. We are employing people based on sentiment. I will be told to give, to nominate people who will be sent to schools to teach. And I will pick my cousin, my relative, my in-law, who I know are not qualified, and how do we expect education to improve if these are the kind of people that are teaching our children. That is why we have so many private universities, private colleges, private schools, which are now the alternative, and they are a new norm to us, because we have killed the public sector education and we have taken our kids to a private sector education. So I think we have to look into it as well and see how we can nominate teachers who are capable. We nominate them on merit, not based on sentiment.
A major highlight of the lecture was conferment of Lifetime Achievement Awards on 5 distinguished Nigerians from northern Nigeria in recognition of their exceptional contributions to national development. Among those honored were the late former President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, elder statesman General Theophilus Danjuma, and former President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainabul Kachua, individuals whose service reflects the ideals championed by Sir Ahmadu Bello. As the curtains fell on the 12th Annual Memorial Lecture, organizers announced Niger State as host of the next edition of the Sardauna Memorial Foundation Lecture Series. More than a yearly gathering, the Memorial Lecture remains a powerful platform for examining leadership, education and development while preserving the timeless legacy of Sir Ahmadu Bello. For northern Nigeria, the message from Dutse is clear. Education is not just a sector. It is the foundation upon which the region's future must be built. This is Jigawa in Focus. I am Fatima Ahmed Musa. See you next time.